Again, the worldwide leader in woke is disrespecting the great white hope. Again? What the hell is going on here? What is wrong with ESPN? Why do they continue to butcher their cash cow? I don't understand it. I don't get it. You know, throughout the year, I will have my problems with YouTube from time to time. Right now, myself and other content creators, we are complaining because March has been one of the worst months in years. YouTube implemented a new algorithm a few weeks ago. Viewers are complaining about the videos that they are being recommended. Content creators are complaining about their videos not being recommended. It's an absolute disaster right now. If you don't have a loyal following, you're probably struggling right now, no matter how many subscribers you have. Thankfully, I'm lucky. You guys continue to show up for me every day. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Now, everything will work itself out eventually, but when you're going through it, when you're in the midst of it, it sucks. There have been times where I disagreed with YouTube when it came to things like censorship or monetization. To their credit, most of those issues have been resolved. But over the years, I have complained about one thing or another, but the one thing that I won't do is disrespect the platform. I'm not going to denigrate the platform. I'm not going to beg my audience to abandon YouTube for something like Rumble, because I refuse to bite the hand that feeds me. I'm not going to shit on the platform that pays me to talk shit for a living, which is why I can't understand why ESPN continues to disrespect Caitlin Clark. No one should appreciate Caitlin Clark more than ESPN. Now, a close second would be the dump divers in the WNBA, but they can't seem to get past their jealousy and resentment. There is no reason, though, for anyone at ESPN to be jealous of Caitlin Clark, which is why I don't understand the constant disrespect. Where is this coming from? Are they really this obsessed with mythical racism that they can't appreciate Caitlin Clark? Think about it. The NBA forces ESPN to pay to be the proud home of pretend basketball. If ESPN didn't agree to pay for the WNBA, the NBA would take away their broadcast rights to real basketball games. When they negotiated their broadcast rights last year, the NBA and the WNBA were a package deal for reasons that should be obvious. If the dump was forced to hit the open market as a standalone product, they would probably be paying networks with money they don't have to broadcast their games. Well, Casey, that's not true. The market is starving for elite women's basketball. Yeah, but what does that have to do with the WNBA? The WNBA is receiving $200 million a year for their broadcast rights, most of which I would assume is coming from ESPN. A deal ESPN had to make because the network cannot survive without the NBA. The NBA provides 10 months of content to ESPN every year. If they lost the NBA, it's over. So, as part of their deal with the NBA, ESPN is paying, I would say, at least $100 million every year for the WNBA. Before Caitlin Clark arrived, ESPN might have been breaking even, probably losing money on this deal. But with Caitlin Clark involved in damn near every game that ESPN will broadcast, ESPN is making money. Caitlin Clark delivers an audience that is similar to the NBA at a fraction of the cost. It's probably one of the reasons that ESPN felt comfortable letting go of Major League Baseball. They knew they could rely on Caitlin Clark to deliver the same size audience at a fraction of the price. But for some reason, ESPN continues to disrespect the Great White Hope. Hell, when it comes to the WNBA, ESPN continues to disrespect their only hope. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel is in the description below. This morning on the second channel, talked about ESPN polishing the turd for women's college basketball. ESPN is basically lying about women's college basketball ratings when there's no reason to lie about it. The women, I think, are performing well. Since ESPN is allergic to the truth, I give you the real truth with how the women are performing. So if you haven't already, head over to the second channel and subscribe. A couple of weeks ago, ESPN uploaded a video to YouTube titled, "Is Caitlin Clark the greatest of all time in college basketball?" This was classic media garbage. It's lazy content, it's low effort, it's clickbait. ESPN is especially bad about doing this. Anytime they run out of stories of mythical racism, ESPN relies on absolutely useless GOAT debates. Who is the GOAT, Michael or Billy? These debates often involve fake analysts like Mina Kimes. Mina, oh, great one. Please share your lack of wisdom. Who is the best quarterback when it's November 13th at 1:43 p.m.? There's a half moon with partly cloudy skies. The supersized dipper is aligned perfectly with Uranus and it's 69 degrees. Who is the GOAT in this situation? The better question is, who gives a damn? Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, ESPN uploaded another useless GOAT debate on YouTube. They were asking what I thought was an obvious question or an easy question to answer. Is Caitlin Clark the GOAT in women's college basketball? The obvious answer is yes. But KC, she never won a national championship. How can she be ranked ahead of elite athletes like Angel Reese when she's never won the title? I don't care if Caitlin Clark had never won a game. I don't care if she was eliminated every year in the first round of the LGBT tournament. This debate has nothing to do with actual basketball, because before Caitlin Clark, no one was watching women's basketball. So everything that happened before her is essentially meaningless because no one was there to see it. How long did it take me to answer that question? 30, maybe 45 seconds? ESPN wasted 10 minutes explaining why Caitlin Clark is not the GOAT in women's basketball. Not only was she not ranked number 1, ESPN didn't include Caitlin Clark in their top 5. Watch for yourself.
What makes a top 5 player? Winning. The only strike against Caitlin Clark is that she has not won a national championship. How can you be a top 5 player if you have not won a title?
It's a great point, which is why I agree with you. Convince me, Ari. We're switching them back.
When I originally saw this a couple of weeks ago, I chose to ignore it. I didn't want to give any free publicity to this steaming pile of shit. The only reason I am sharing it with you guys now is because it shows this pattern of disrespect for Caitlin Clark at ESPN. It also shows the hypocrisy. Yesterday morning, Napheesa Collier was a guest on First Take. It was a true diversity panel on a network that is supposedly dedicated to diversity. The panel featured Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe. Hey, it's me, Shay Shay! Unfortunately, the insufferable Molly Qerim, she is still hosting the show, and obviously, the guest was Napheesa Collier. Lonely men on social media, they were spanking the wanker thinking about all this diversity. There's not a white man on camera. Give me the lube, give me the lube. This is great. For those that don't know, Napheesa Collier is one of the co-founders of Unrivaled, with Unrivaled coming off their inaugural season of huge embarrassing failure, with at least one more season of failure coming next season before they go bankrupt. You would think ESPN would be asking Napheesa Collier how she's going to save her secondary pretend basketball league. Instead, ESPN was focused on Caitlin Clark. The WNBA, along with the networks, they have decided to put Caitlin Clark on national television 41 times. 41 out of her 44 games will be on national TV. But pay very, very close attention. Listen to how Molly Qerim presents the question to Napheesa Collier. The disrespect is subtle, but it's there. Watch for yourself.
Caitlin Clark obviously has been a hot button topic on the show and took the WNBA by storm last year. Now her team is going to have 41 of their 44 games nationally televised, while the reigning champs, the Liberty, only have 32. Was this a fair move by the W?
I think it's two things. I mean, obviously people want to watch Caitlin play, and so you have to put the people on TV that people want to see. But at the same time, like, there's stars all over the league, and you want good basketball as well. Obviously, Indiana, especially like with their free agents, they're gonna be a great team. But to not have the defending champs on TV more, I think it's kind of crazy. I mean, it doesn't have to be where you're taking games away from Indiana, but I think you can raise the level of TV games for the other teams as well.
First of all, credit to Napheesa Collier for how she answered this question. Molly Qerim tried to bait her. She tried to serve the shit sandwich, but Napheesa Collier, she refused to take a bite. Good for her. But with that being said, I do disagree with one point. She mentioned something about the New York Liberals needing to be featured more on national television. She claimed that people wanted to see them too. Now let me ask you something. How many of you guys can name one player on the New York Lesbians? How many of you guys even knew that they have been using the golden toilet throughout the offseason because they won the WNBA Finals last year? Since 2001, Caitlin Clark has 19 of the most watched games in the WNBA. 24 years of pretend basketball. Caitlin Clark has the vast majority of the most watched games. You know how many the New York Liberals have? 1. And that game didn't eclipse 1 million viewers. If people wanted to watch the New York Liberals, you know who would be showcasing them? ESPN. Molly Qerim wants to ask Napheesa Collier. She wants to ask WNBA players if it's unfair that Caitlin Clark has 41 nationally televised games. You know who is responsible for 25% of that number? ESPN. If ESPN thought it was so unfair, why are they featuring Caitlin Clark so heavily? If Molly Qerim has a problem with the schedule, she doesn't need to be talking to Napheesa Collier. She needs to be talking to her own bosses. Again, credit to Napheesa Collier for how she handled this question. I thought her answer was very respectful and politically correct, but that's okay. I think there's a reason for that. Like I have been telling you guys for a couple of weeks now, I think we are going to see WNBA players treat Caitlin Clark differently this season because the future of Unrivaled depends on Caitlin Clark joining the league. Unrivaled is paying players a hell of a lot more money than the WNBA is, but that free money will disappear if Caitlin Clark doesn't join next season. So I think we could see Caitlin Clark treated differently this season, at least by WNBA players. What do you think? Also, why does ESPN continue disrespecting Caitlin Clark? Give me the reason. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.